Does that help? The Nintendo Wii was codenamed Revolution for a reason. After their previous two consoles, the Nintendo 64 and GameCube, got smashed in sales by less powerful PlayStations, Nintendo pivoted from shipping one rectangular prism per console to two. The Wii Remote was the revolutionary idea that Nintendo would bank on for its next generation machine. While Sony and Microsoft were playing with that whole HDMI thing, Wii owners would get to play with a C. Nintendo purposefully shipped an underpowered machine to save costs, instead leaning into a new gimmick to promote the machine. Designed to be as universally understandable as possible, the Wii Remote was pitched as the future of game controllers. All you've got to do to play the Wii is hold the Wii Remote like a, well, remote, and with an accelerometer and infrared sensor, the Wii Remote brought motion controls to the forefront of video games. Nintendo wanted you to believe that this controller could do anything, but what could it really do? And how would they show you? Nintendo had the answer, and it would become iconic. Yep, we're up to 3 rectangular prisms. Bundled in with almost every Wii ever sold, Wii Sports was a phenomenon. What better way to introduce motion controls than with games that everyone's already familiar with? 5 games come with the Wii Sports package: boxing, bowling, golf, baseball, and tennis. But before we get to those, head back to that channel menu, cause it's me time! Aww. Before you put a disc in your Wii, there's a compelling little channel right beside that disc. The Me channel. Here's where you create the avatar that you'll play as in Wii Sports, and a fun way to introduce the pointer. This channel is full of personality and has way more features than you probably remember. Had more features. And while I've never loved creating Miis as much as some other folks, I adore the personality that the characters brought to everything they were a part of. The Me channel is a small game built right into the Wii, and once you put in the disc, you get to beat the shit out of them. Wii Sports is best as a multiplayer minigame collection, but if we're only talking about included rectangular prisms, it's enjoyable alone, too. Let's start with tennis, which is as simple as it gets. How did we let them get away with this? Bowling, however, now this is what I call a Wii sport. This is my absolute favorite, and I think that's for good reason. While throwing the ball with your Wii Remote, you could actually control the curve and speed of the ball, just like an actual bowling ball, and this still works really well to this day. I'd argue it works even better than regular bowling, and that's definitely not because I'm bad at normal bowling. Definitely not. While you've got 4 people in the room, why not throw them at a golf course too? There, now we're ready. Golf is probably just as iconic as bowling, with a full 9-hole golf course, apparently based off of NES Open. Neat. Similarly to bowling, the way you swing the Wii Remote during your golf swing really does matter. And I'm terrible at it, but this mode is one of the meatier ones in the package, considering a round of tennis or bowling can take all of 5 minutes. Baseball also fills the void of longer games in the package, with players swapping between pitching and batting. I never really liked this one very much, and I feel like no one talks about it anymore. Let's ignore it from now on and play with this C instead. The Nunchuck plugs into the bottom of the Wii Remote, giving us 2 extra buttons, and a beautiful analog stick that hasn't broken unlike some modern Nintendo controllers. But it took me years and years to ever realize that the Nunchuck had some simple motion controls of its own built in, which allows us to play boxing. There's actual skill involved here, I just don't care. This was truly a fantastic pack-in title. It was designed for the whole family to enjoy, with modes like bowling and golf only requiring 1 Wii Remote for everyone to join in. And for single players, every sport has a training mode, including the incredibly fun 100-pin bowling, that packs tons of enjoyable fun into a tiny package. Literally. Wii Sports was built to show what the Wii Remote's motion controls could do, and people bought Wiis over it. It resides today as one of the best-selling games of all time, and I think that's deserved. The success of Wii Sports couldn't go unnoticed, and Nintendo knew that. And that's why, just a couple months later, Wii Play hit store shelves, officially creating the Wii Series. While Wii Sports would show the capabilities of the Wii Remote's accelerometer, Wii Play would show the capabilities of its pointer. Wii Play, agreed, is a collection of 9 minigames, being Shooting Range, sorry, you press A, damn it, Find Me, and Table Tennis, sound familiar? Pose Me, which is actually pretty good, Laser Hockey, billiards.
I want you work!
Fishing, it's fishing. Charge, wait, that doesn't use the pointer, why is that here? And tanks, which is significantly longer than any of the other games in the package, uses the nunchuck and is really awesome. It feels like every Wii owner had this game, probably mostly because it came bundled with a Wii Remote right after launch, and that's kind of why no one talks about it. Wii Play feels like a bunch of simple tech demos lightly fleshed out with multiplayer functionality added in. Oh wait. Despite the simplicity, I really do enjoy a lot of the mini-games here, when they work. This game is best for 2 people to kill time for 30 minutes. The Wii Series was planned before the Wii itself even launched. It was known as the Wii Project, spearheaded by Shigeru Miyamoto. The first 2 games in this series would show the power of the Wii Remote, but the next 2 would show how the Wii could not just be for entertainment, but it could be as a tool for good. They accomplished that with 2 more rectangular prisms. Wii Fit is a half-fitness, half-video game package, utilizing a special Wii accessory. The balance board has 4 pressure sensors that can weigh the player, as well as detect where their center of balance is. That is the centerpiece of Wii Fit. But first, we have to complete our setup body test. Enter your height.
9.3 Wii Fit's tall.
How many inches is that? Enter the year you were born. Wait, huh?
Well, I'm sorry, Wii Fit. How old do you think I am?
Now it's gotta test my body or something. Apparently I'm a ghost? Well, I guess that checks out if I'm a ghost. And now it gives me my Wii Fit age.
What the fuck?
Apparently I'm much weaker than I should be.
Thanks, asshole. Really needed those insults today.
The body test in Wii Fit has always had a tendency to do this to me. It always called me grossly underweight, and this genuinely made me worried as a kid, and it still does a little. I wouldn't listen to these body tests. At least in my experience, they don't seem the greatest. Anyway, time for some minigames. Wii Fit has 4 categories of minigames, or 5, since I'm actually playing the standalone expansion Wii Fit Plus, which released a couple years later. It mostly adds new minigames, along with some other features I don't care enough about to mention. There are 33 actual games in the Plus package, along with 36 yoga and strength training exercises. Well, those exercises are the truest workouts of the package, and they are really well executed. Let's be honest, everyone just went straight for the actual fun stuff. And fun stuff they got! The minigames of Wii Fit are some of the most varied, interesting games the series has. I wouldn't describe any of the games as boring, although not all of them are the greatest functionally. It might just be me, but I find really fast motions to be the downfall of the balance board, which makes games like Perfect 10 awkward to play, as I constantly fail due to misinputs. But other than that, I really did like that minigame. This didn't happen too often though, as most of Wii Fit's minigames don't demand this, simply requiring gradual controlled balance shifts. The stars of the show here are the Wii Fit Plus minigames, which include some awesome stuff. You can ride a Segway, run an obstacle course, juggle on a giant rolling ball, tilt city, ride a skateboard, and the coolest of all, become a chicken. Okay, this is genuinely actually my favorite minigame here. You put the Wii Remote down and flap your arms like a chicken. I have no clue how this works, but it does, and it's super cool. And I don't know if it's just because there was a vent above where I was standing while playing this, but I broke a sweat while playing this minigame, and a few of the other games in here too, so there's some genuine actual workouts in here. While the body test features of Wii Fit seem to be rather unreliable, which definitely gimps the game's use as an actual tool, Wii Fit Plus successfully proves that the Wii can provide an entertaining exercise experience. However, Wii Fit on its own is missing a lot of the best content, which kind of makes this stack irrelevant. So far, Nintendo had successfully shown the capabilities of the Wii Remote and proven that it could be used to break a sweat entertainingly. They were on a hot streak for proving this thing. What little secrets do you still hold? Well, it turns out, Nintendo thought they had the answer. Wii Music wasn't so much designed as a game, but as a way to teach music creation to the masses. I have always wanted to be able to create music or play an instrument, and Wii Music promised that experience. So I really do hope it can deliver.
You already know that this sucks. There is no point in hiding it.
This is Sebastian Toot, and he's going to teach us how prisms can make music. We do so by either flailing the Wii Remote, strategically flailing the Wii Remote, mashing buttons, or all of the above. And then you play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Or don't, I guess. And that's the general intended gameplay loop of Wii Music. Learn what you need to do to use the instrument, twinkle twinkle little star, next. But there's nothing about being accurate, no timing. You're supposed to improvise or screw up. If you always got a full combo in Guitar Hero just for raking green, how entertaining would that really be? Okay, bad example, but you get what I mean. Although, this game never said it's supposed to be about playing music, it's meant to be about creating music. So what can you do for that? Well, not very much. The game encourages you to add new notes to Twinkle Twinkle, but as far as I can tell, there's no actual control over what note gets added, it's just random. The most control you get is over what instrument you're going to use, which at least they give you a lot of options there. You can bring up this sheet music thing, and I guess there's some game here, I just don't get it. There's a lot of songs at least. They are mostly public domain stuff, but there is some pop music and some Nintendo music, which includes one of the best parts of the game, Mute City. Jam mode and the lessons, the meat of Wii Music, are awful. Thankfully, there are some other activities here. We can control an orchestra. Okay, sure, this is entertaining at least, albeit very short. There's some creativity to be had here, so I'll give you a D- on that statement. And now I've got a quiz on identifying pitch, and this actually does get quite challenging, so at least I'm not bored. And here we get to play some handbells like it's Handbell Hero. This would be best with 4 people all playing, or with 4 Wii Remotes and nunchucks, but this is actually fun. We're getting somewhere. The final option in Wii Music, and the reason it advertises balance board support, is a dedicated drums mode. Here, you get a drum kit that you can freely play, using the balance board plus a Wii Remote and nunchuck combo. And this is what Wii Music could have been. The lessons here are actually pretty in-depth, and you can play these drums in whatever way you want, not just essentially randomized. You can actually make something here. I said that you can, not that I can. Let's never do that again. It's becoming kind of hard to talk about the Wii Series as showing the power of the Wii Remote, especially when someone doesn't do the job too awful well. Thankfully, Nintendo saw this coming 13 years ago, and that's why they upgraded from prisms to cubes. But before we talk about that, it's time for some history. The base model Wii Remote contains an accelerometer for its motion sensing capabilities. While that works fine for motions like this, the Wii Remote struggles with knowing the rotational position of the controller, which limits what you can do significantly. The Wii Remote's motion capabilities are very limited without being pointed at the screen, which is how it pulls off the rotation puzzles in Prime 3 and most of the minigames in Wii Play. Honestly, other than just waggling, most of the cool stuff that the Wii Remote did was with the pointer for the first couple years of its life. Nintendo originally promised developers that a gyroscope would be included with the controller, but that was cut to save costs. In 2009, an accessory would release to add a gyroscope to the Wii Remote, and with it, a game that would show the power of the motion controls of an upgraded Wii Remote. It's time for some more Wii Sports! I never owned a Wii Motion Plus as a kid, I only got one within the last year. Conveniently, at the same time, I was also given a copy of Wii Sports Resort. People always seem to talk about this game more than the original, and I never really understood. So, what makes Wii Sports Resort so special? Well, the original Wii Sports has essentially just 5 modes, most of which being pretty short and simple. It's a fun time, but you can see it all in half an hour. Resort has one mode that took me an hour to do half of, and that's only one of the 3 sub-modes inside of that mode. Wii Sports Resort is an absolutely massive game, containing almost all new and original sports, most of which even have multiple modes inside of them. All of these modes use the Motion Plus accessory, and many of them really do feel like it. Using the Wii Remote as a sword, as a kayak, I don't care what you think, it's a kayak, paddle, playing table tennis, this is genuinely really cool, and basketball, riding a bike, wakeboarding, or wave race! There's a stupid amount of content here. When you get bored of sword fight duels, you could test your reflexes or commit mass murder. Bored of throwing a frisbee at a dog? How about some frisbee golf on an 18-hole course? Oh yeah, golf and bowling, probably the 2 highlights of Wii Sports, are both back in full capacity, with golf adding 9 extra holes to the original course, plus adding a brand new one, and bowling fleshing out 100-pin and spin control into full-on modes. The amount of modes here is an extremely welcome change, and that's not even all. Every mode now has 5 stamps to collect, incentivizing more replaying and giving single players, like me, a much more enjoyable time alone. However, one mode stands alone as my personal favorite inclusion, and that is the Island Flyover. In Island Flyover, you pilot a plane over Woohoo Island. Woohoo Island first appeared in Wii Fit as Wii Fit Island, but it was just a footnote. It made for a nice background in a few games. In Resort, you get to explore it. This island is where every sport in the game takes place, and you get to see all of that from a completely new perspective. Ever wondered where the bowling alley is? Well, now you know. It's in this little town right on the coast, which is powered entirely by clean energy. There's a group of runners ready to see the island from that perspective, as they go sightseeing through the various landmarks up the giant volcano that you can go inside of. What? Wondering how the golf course fits on this island? Well, it doesn't. It's over here. Cool, huh? Hidden across the island are 80 of these landmark icons to find, and for each 10 that you collect, you unlock something new. Different times of day to fly in, some lighting at night, balloons to find, and a gun to shoot! This mode is truly something special. Now, there was a world where these games took place. Mii's feel less like avatars and more like actual characters to interact with. Wii Sports Resort is, in my opinion, one of the best sequels ever made. I love it. The Wii series was evolving. It wasn't just a tech demo anymore. It had world, it had characters, it had personality. Nintendo was showing a sense of care towards the franchise that made it feel like it was right up there with their other heavy hitters. From here, it can only go up, right? I really shouldn't have said that. Wii Party! Agreed. May be a bit of a bitter title for Mario Party fans. This was the first game developed by a restructured ND Cube, who would go on to develop every Mario Party game since the 9th. So they made all the bad ones. This really isn't a good sign for you. Wii Party has 5 main party modes, all of which play very differently. You have your typical die-rolling board game mode with Board Game Island, a bit more of a unique board game with Globetrot, a game of collecting Miis wearing identical shirts and Swap Me, Do I Know You From Somewhere? Wheel of Fortune, and Bingo. There's a lot of variety here, and some solid ideas, but they all fall a little flat. The game feels like it's crawling a lot of the time, making the modes unnecessarily long. For example, spinning the wheel in Spin-Off takes a stupid amount of time just for it to stop. Moving around in Globetrot takes forever, etc. Board Game Island is literally just play minigame, roll dice, see what happens, repeat. Reminds me of another board game that's lacking strategy. I did just mention minigames though. How were they? I don't think I disliked the minigames as much as the people I played this game with did. This game is shit! But a lot of them are pretty forgettable. They're simple, which is nice for the sake of a quick explanation, but the first one we played was seriously under 10 seconds, and it just feels really unbalanced. The main modes have good ideas, but I feel the execution here just wasn't great. However, Wii Party does have a lot more than just these 5 modes. The game has some extra mini-modes contained under pair games, house party, and some minigame compilations that are similar to basically every other party game ever. Pair games are either 1 or 2 player experiences, 2 being cooperative experiences, a friendship tester and a balancing act, and a shorter abridged Swap Me. These are pretty solid. I didn't find pacing issues here and quite enjoyed my time with them. House Party is where the game truly shines though. House Party combines the real world and Wii Party into one game experience using the power of the Wii Remote, with stuff like figuring out which Wii Remote is making that animal sound. Did you forget that the Wii Remote has a speaker? Because I sure as hell always do. Hide and seek for Wii Remotes around the room, and pretending the Wii Remote is a bomb and passing it around while holding specific buttons to make sure you don't die in a fiery explosion of white rectangular prisms. House Party is the most Wii Series part of Wii Party, and definitely the highlight. But does that make it worth it? I paid $54 for this. I'm not going to throw it. It needs to feel my disappointment. Oh, hey, it's just a prism again. They released a game about this, didn't they? No, not that one. Yeah, that one. Wii Play Motion is very much cut from the same cloth as Wii Play. 12 minigames with virtually no thematic connection, all centered around a gimmick of no cubes attached. Unlike the original, this game mainly focuses on the Wii Motion Plus. Again, but it goes absolutely wild with what they could do. A lot of Wii Play's ideas feel rather grounded, which I found makes the game a little forgettable and dull to look back upon. Wii Play Motion is a game where you propel yourself forward on roller skates using an umbrella catching the wind.
Who the hell asked about the themes behind Wii minigame collections? What?
Sports Resort's use of Wii Motion Plus is very impressive and fun, but Wii Play Motion is just flexing. The Whack-A-Mole game is incredibly fluid and satisfying to play. Moving the Wii Remote to find ghosts in your own room in Spooky Search is super neat. Pose Me Plus captures the essence of the original very well while having completely different mechanics, and Star Shuttle is basically Pose Me Plus Cross Kerbal's space program. Some of the games don't necessarily feel like technological marvels, but are still fun and enjoyable. Special shoutouts to Skip Skimmer, which takes way more skill than I initially anticipated and is full of cute charm. The medals return from the original, and all of the minigames now support 4-player multiplayer. It's an impressive package, but not everything is good in here. The very first game in the package, Cone Zone, is really unimpressive, and feels more like a competitive Wii Party minigame than something that should be here. And Trigger Twist, a sequel to Shooting Range, shows the weaknesses of motion controls over pointer controls. Because the game lets you aim while not pointing at the screen, it doesn't actually use the sensor bar at all, meaning the shooting controls just don't feel as good and tend to drift constantly. It's conceptually more interesting, but I feel limited while playing it. But overall, Wii Play Motion is a surprisingly solid package that adds more for a lonely single player to enjoy over the original. The Wii Series left its home console with much more of a bang than it would have if Wii Music was the last one. You heard that right. After 8 games on the Wii Series would move on to the next console in line, the Wii U. It was a great way for Nintendo to show off what they could do with the Wii Remote, and now they had the Wii U gamepad to justify. This isn't going to go well, is it? Nintendo chose to forego using the Wii Series as their pack-in title, instead creating Nintendo Land, which has a lot of Wii Series DNA in it, but definitely stands on its own. The game was loaded with content, and as a pack-in with your console, Nintendo Land is a way better value than Wii Sports ever was. It would take a year for ND Cube to bring back the series with Wii Party U. Of all games to try and justify the gamepad, this one. Good luck! Much like the original, Wii Party U has 5 main party modes, and the ideas behind them are quite similar to the original. Highway Rollers is the linear roll-to-the-finish board based around winning minigames. Gamepad Island takes place on an island. Yes, that really is all I've got. Mii Fashion Plaza is your item collecting game, and Team Building is Swap Meet, but with poker rules. Oh, and also the Balldozer, which is an original idea, but it replaces Spin-Off, which was probably the worst mode. These modes are very similar to the first ones, but I feel that they vastly improved upon them. The linear start-to-finish mode moves faster, and the balancing on how much each minigame win matters is a bit more chaotic and interesting. The island mode doesn't have tons of minigames, instead using little gamepad microgames to roll, so it moves way faster, and it has more interesting board events. Mii Fashion Plaza is a little weak, being almost entirely luck-based and being a bit less unique, but it is faster than Globetrot, so take with that what you will. The Balldozer has no real replacement, so it can't really be compared, and Swap Meet is poker rules and infinitely more interesting because of it. The minigames here are also better in essentially the same way. Similar improved ideas with new ones thrown in. Next verse, same as the first for the house party modes too, although there's a whole lot more original ideas in here, including some really creative uses of the gamepad. Separate from House Party is an entirely gamepad-centric mode, being Gamepad Party, which features some small and simple minigames entirely played on the tablet, which make this game one of my favorite uses of the thing. Does it justify its existence? Well, no, not much could. But Wii Party U is quite the redemption arc for Wii Party, and was a fitting first step for the series into the next generation. Wow, they actually managed to make something good out of you two. Who would have thought? Your turn. Oh, that's cool! Wii Fit U can import your save data from Wii Fit or Wii Fit Plus, meaning that if you were playing the game on a Wii and transferred your data over, you could reasonably be keeping your fitness record from half a decade ago. Wait, does this mean— Oh god, not you again!
Please don't hurt me.
Oh. thanks, I guess.
What was different?
This body test was almost the exact same as in Wii Fit Plus, but it has a gamepad section and lets you take a picture, of which I used a stunt double for.
I mean, seriously, who likes taking pictures of themselves?
But I got similar results. The BMI test still thinks I'm a piece of paper, so why am I suddenly years younger?
The balance board must just think you're hot.
The similarities to Wii Fit Plus don't stop there, as the lineup of minigames and exercises is nearly identical. See, Wii Fit U really isn't a sequel, it's more so just Wii Fit Pluser. It adds 19 new exercises to the pool, half of which being a new dancing mode and the rest being aerobics and balance games. A few of the returning modes have new extra difficulties now too, and they were fine. However, a lot of the best minigames that were in Wii Fit Plus are just missing. I hope they did a good job of replacing them then. The new games are fine, but I'd describe a lot of them as just functional, and a few more as not really a workout, and just an excuse to do something neat with the gamepad and balance board together. This is the only Wii U game to support it, unlike the Wii where it was a relatively common addition to titles. Some of the additions are great, but others really don't add much to either the exercise, the experience, or both. A dancing mode is a smart addition here, but the game seemed to just be happy with the Gangnam Style. So overall, the actual additions here aren't the greatest, and on their own probably aren't justified, except that Wii Fit U wasn't just a game.
It came with... That's not a prism!
The Wii Fit meter is a Pokewalker. No, seriously, it's a Pokewalker with different software on it. There's no minigames on it, but it does have some interesting stats and graphs to look at, and seems like a genuinely useful fitness tool if you pretend that smartphones don't exist. It's also really cute that they show a portrait of your Mii on here. If you bought one of these for about $20, you got a free download for Wii Fit U. So you get arguably the best new feature of the game for $20, and the mediocre upgrades for free. Although, my results in the body test may imply that under the hood, they've improved that to be a more reliable tool, which might just be the most important upgrade they could have made. Makes the pill much easier to swallow, and if you want a chicken flap in an HD, this was a no-brainer!
That was mediocre. Looks like we've got one more Wii Series game left, and with the track record we've got, this isn't looking so good. So let's take a look at Wii Sports Club.
Now, I don't actually have this game, so I'm just gonna get it on the eShop and... What? I don't own this game. Why does it say I do? Buy a day pass? A free trial? For Wii Sports? What? Wait. Is this...
This is a remake of Wii Sports, a game that the massive majority of Wii consoles came with on a console that performed worse, with a subscription service model. You wanted people to pay for a game that they probably already owned as a service. I have a lot of nostalgia for the Wii series of games, but I never really played that many growing up. Playing through a lot of these games for the first time now, I was critical of a lot more of them than I thought I'd be. The Wii series has a bit of an identity crisis going on, from trying to prove the power of the Wii Remote to trying to be a fitness machine to an educational tool to chess. Wait, what? But what the Wii series did best throughout its entire run was being games that anyone could enjoy together. They were simple games, easily understandable to the masses, and mainly multiplayer focused, perfect for spending time with any friends and family. The Wii appealed to a massive casual audience, and the Wii series was perfect for it. In recent times, I feel Nintendo has leaned very heavily into a hardcore audience. The Switch is a great console, but I feel like it lacks some of the personality that the Wii, 3DS, and even the Wii U had. Mii's are virtually non-existent anymore. The system menu is nothing more than a system menu. There's no music in places like the shop and the menu, etc., etc. Maybe I just have nostalgia for a bygone era, but I miss the little bit of a Nintendo touch that those systems had. The Wii series felt like an extension of the character of the systems that it resided on, and it's deeply missed in my heart. But We're approaching 10 years since the last entry in the Wii series. It's probably never coming back.
Yeah, I guess they're making more of them.
Today on Nintendo eShop.
I've never heard of. I didn't even know it was a game.
How was that? Next up is this. It's a new...
8 years it's been since the last Wii Series game. 15 years since the original Wii Sports. Finally, we're graced with another game. 6 sports, 3 new ones and 3 returning. Online play and bundled with a peripheral. It released to generally positive reviews. How much more classic Wii Sports could you get? A hell of a lot more. Let's start with the obvious. Mii's gone. Replaced by new avatars called Sportsmates. They're not the worst. They look generic as all hell, but they're fine, and you can customize them decently well. You're trading faces for outfits here. Oh, but you can use your Mii heads. They just look like terrifying plastic surgery failure abominations. Woohoo Island? Also gone. Replaced by a city block. It's fine, it looks okay, but I just don't care about it. I never played Resort as a kid, and I never cared about Woohoo Island. Playing Sports Resort made me love it, and I played that last year. There's no reason for me to care about this square, so I won't. The peripheral? It's the Joy-Con leg strap from Ring Fit, and it's only used in the soccer minigame. In fact, it's only in some boring-ass shoot-up mode right now, because it's gonna take them until summer to patch in using it in an actual soccer match. This is one of my grievances with Nintendo as of late. Far too many of the games are releasing unfinished, with updates announced before release that really should have just been in the game. Those 6 sports? Well, come later this year, there will be a 7th. Golf, one of the staples of the franchise, beloved by many, won't be in the game for potentially up to half a year. So, what did we get from the 6 sports included? Tennis is as brain dead as usual, surprise surprise. Badminton is just tennis with more nuance, so why is tennis even here if there's just a better tennis? Well, maybe it's not actually better, since it took me 20 minutes to figure out some of the mechanics here, and I still haven't figured them all out. What other Wii sport was this mechanically confusing? Why doesn't this have a tutorial? Sure, bowling and tennis probably don't need full tutorials, just explanations, but this mode is not just wild shaking. There is nuance here. Tell me how to use it! Speaking of bowling, it's bowling. I love bowling. It works fine at first, but as I kept playing, the controls started to glitch out. More and more. How did they screw this up? The Wii Remote did this perfectly every single time. How do the Joy-Cons not? Moving on to Chambara, which is renamed Swordplay from Resort, presumably to trick us into thinking it's a new mode. This gets a tutorial. It's mechanically interesting. The new swords offer different playstyles, but the emphasis on swinging certain directions based on how they're blocking doesn't work when the game is constantly misreading my swing direction almost every single time. In all fairness, the 2 wholly original modes, volleyball and soccer, not including the shootout, are simple, fun, and work really well. Simple and fun, where have I heard that before? This game is the culmination of everything I don't like about modern Nintendo. Releasing an unfinished game with patches already lined up for the rest of the year, throwing in online play and saying, oh, that'll satisfy them for 8 months, providing less content even in the completed package, compared to a game that released 10 years ago for cheaper. This game is the worst game that Nintendo has put out on the Switch, the worst game in the Wii series, including this, and potentially their worst game ever. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some bowling to do. Stockholm Syndrome is a